Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
And that breaking news, Michigan voters will have a say on abortion rights during the November election. The decision coming from the Michigan Supreme Court just within the last 45 minutes.
Document breaking down the reasons. The justices ruled 5-2 to allow voters to determine what should happen with the Michigan Constitution. Rod Maloney joins us with these breaking developments now. Rod.
Well, Devin, for such a short order, which is to send it to the ballot, it was a long decision, 23 pages long. And it goes to show you that for the justices, this whole issue with the Board of Canvassers was no simple decision. The Board of Canvassers decided this was the problem, a run-on sentence in the petition lacking 60 spaces used to gather more than 700,000 signatures. They'd not approved the petition with those mistakes. The Supreme Court wasn't buying the board's reasoning, though, to keep it from the November ballot and instead ordered it before voters. Governor Gretchen Whitmer says it's what she expected.
This was a record number of signatures that were turned in. This pretense of some spacing, it is just one more effort to undermine women's ability to make their own choices, much less have a vote about whether or not we should do that.
And it was not a surprise to Genevieve Marnin of Michigan Right to Life, who is now gearing up for a major fight.
We will work very hard to educate people to go and vote no on this extreme initiative.
Most upsetting to her is the 95-word summary to appear on the ballot. It speaks about reproductive freedom for all, but it does not specifically mention the many items on the original petition that gives her reason to claim it's too extreme for Michigan voters.
I don't think they want parental consent laws invalidated. I don't think they want late-term abortion laws invalidated. I don't think they want the law that says only doctors can perform abortions invalidated, but that's what this proposal would do.
Now, the governor weighed in on that and saying that future legislatures could fix those problems if, in fact, that was the case. Now, in the meantime, the ruling had a number of Supreme Court justices very upset about the speed at which they had to make this decision. They want to see a 6-week window now for these kinds of complaints or issues with petition drives so that they have the time to make a proper decision. Reporting live in Dearborn, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
Yeah, okay, Rod. Now, also breaking, the state Supreme Court says a ballot proposal to expand voting rights and voting access in the state will also be on the November ballot. Michigan Board of Canvassers had also deadlocked on that decision last week. This is a proposal that would require 9 days of early in-person voting, among a number of other elements. We'll have much more on both of the decisions coming up tonight at 11.
All right, our other top story, remembering Queen Elizabeth. Tonight, tributes are pouring in from around the world for Britain's longest reigning monarch, who died today at the age of 96. And we're hearing special memories from people right across the border in Canada.
Queen Elizabeth dedicated her life to duty, of course, taking the throne at the age of 25, serving for 70 years. Immediately after her death, Prince Charles became Britain's new monarch and will be called King Charles III, and he's expected to address the nation tomorrow. Now, right now, Britain is in a period of mourning that is going to last until the Queen's funeral. This is a live look at Buckingham Palace, where people have been gathering and placing flowers, paying tributes to the Queen. Codenamed London Bridge, this plan for the Queen's funeral has been years in the making. She'll be buried 10 days after her death, and in the days to come will lie in state for the public and for world leaders to pay their respects.
Yeah, the palace says the Queen died peacefully today at the Queen's Scotland estate of Balmoral Castle. She was surrounded by her family, including Prince William and Harry. The news of her death was posted in a statement outside the castle. And we're continuing to hear from world leaders about the Queen's death, including Pope Francis, who says he is joining all those in mourning.
Right now, flags flying at half-staff across the country in her honor, and that includes here in Michigan. President Biden issued a statement saying, quote, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II was more than a monarch. She defined an era. He went on to say, quote, She led always with grace, an unwavering commitment to duty, and the incomparable power of her example. Our friends across the Detroit River have a special connection to the Queen, with Canada, of course, being a member of the Commonwealth.
That's right. The Queen's last visit to Windsor was in 1984 during a tour of Canada. Our Tim Pamplin was in Windsor today talking to people about their memories. And Tim, you met a man whose family had several personal encounters with the Queen.
Fascinating story, Kim. Yeah, we are across the river here. There's the magnificent Detroit skyline as we spin around. Flags here, obviously going down to half-staff Canada. Part of the Commonwealth. The Queen touched so many lives, including one from a young man I met right here in Windsor.
And I was 15-year-old at the time, and it was summer holidays, and it was just such a massive event.
Saul was reminiscing today with me about the time the Queen came to his mosque in Scunthorpe in the northeast of England. He was just 15 years of age, one of the many in the crowd waving their Union Jacks. He says from that point on, he's been an unapologetic royalist and a huge fan of the late Queen.
This was the first time she was present in a mosque in the United Kingdom.
And that meant a lot to him.
The Queen to me is a matter of great significance, you know, being the leader of the Commonwealth realms, and the history of my family being present in the British Raj.
Yes, he's referring to the Raj, the time when the British ran British India. His grandfather's cousin was a surgeon, but not any surgeon. No, Dr. Shah was appointed to the royal household of George V as a member of the household medical staff. Add to that his brother, a British police officer, being awarded a medal by the Queen for his outstanding service to law enforcement.
Sad in a way that one era is going into the history books and another era is beginning. It's sad in a sense, you know. There's no doubt one would feel sad.
He says he's saddened by the passing of the Queen, but looks forward to what King Charles III will bring.
I don't think you'll ever be able to take the heart of the United Kingdom out of me, no matter how far away I go, wherever I live on the planet.
Yeah, I can relate. The Canadian-British connection runs deep. In fact, someone just came up to the flagpole here, placed a red rose, said that's for Her Majesty. Back to you guys across the river.
Yeah, that's really lovely.
Yeah, great story,
great
pictures.
remembrances.
Yeah.
Wow, yes.
Really. Okay, Tim, thanks. And of course, the Queen leaves behind quite the legacy. In
addition to being the longest reigning monarch in Britain, she's also the second longest serving sovereign monarch in all of history, second only to Louis XIV, who became the King of France at the age of 4. She's been in power for 15 prime ministers, the first being Winston Churchill. Such is the stretch of her life and historic times. There have been 14 U.S. presidents during her reign, and with the exception of President Lyndon Johnson, she met each one of them. Our coverage of the Queen's death continues at clickondetroit.com, where you find more reaction from around the world and also more on what comes now. And we'll go to London for the very latest, up next on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Also new tonight, a serial peeping Tom has been arrested again. Eric Morton is now accused of planting cameras in public places around Ann Arbor. Sean Lay is following this story for us tonight. Sean, these new accusations come just after Morton was released from prison for the same crimes.
That's correct, and it's important to ask, are you in his videos? It's an important question. Here's why. Public restrooms were seen uploaded the videos to social media. Someone tipped off Ann Arbor police. They've been working on the case ever since, along with Michigan State Police Internet Crimes Against Children, because some kids are in his bathroom videos, alleged bathroom videos. And police are still putting together a long list of all the victims in Ann Arbor victimized. Take a look. Take a close look at this man. His name is Eric Deshaun Morton. Think if you've seen him around as you shop your kids' sporting events at Ann Arbor hotels. Why? Because Morton has been out of a state prison only months this year, where he did time for 17 charges of capturing images of unclothed people, meaning hiding hidden cameras in porta potties at Ipsy Arbor Little League games, capturing more than 7,000 videos. And Morton was also convicted of using a computer to commit those crimes, meaning he may have shared the images of people having no idea they were being spied upon. That happened back in 2015, and people were stunned.
Especially when you think you're completely covered and safe, and you know, like I said, all these people are around, and then that's still going on. It's really scary. Morton was released from prison back in January, and tonight prosecutors confirming to us he's been busted for the same crimes. Here's what we know. Investigators confirming videos were taken from a hidden camera inside the Bed Bath & Beyond.
inside the Briarwood Mall in Ann Arbor. Just a few miles away, videos were taken of people inside the Hampton Inn and the Wyndham Hotel, both next door to each other on Jackson Road, also in Ann Arbor. Sources say Morton got off parole in January and immediately and secretly began victimizing people that same month. Now, Morton is facing new charges of possessing child sexually abusive material, meaning investigators believe he was videotaping kids, along with new charges of capturing and distributing images of unclothed people. If you live in Ann Arbor, it's important. Take a look at your screen. We got our hands on the list, the running list of businesses where cameras were found. The list from police: Altered State, Briarwood Mall, the employee restroom, Bath and Body Works Briarwood Mall employee restroom that the public could access, the Hampton Inn on Jackson Road, the women's restroom on the main floor lobby, Wyndham Garden Hotel, Jackson Road, unisex bathroom on the main floor near the conference room. Then cameras found at Vertex Coffee on South University, the Starbucks on Plymouth Road, Sweetwater Coffee, Plymouth Road, Gallup Park, the bathroom in the back of the park near the playground and the footbridge. There may be other businesses involved, and if you think you've been also targeted or in some of these hidden camera videos, Ann Arbor Police want to hear from you tonight. All that information on our website. Click on Detroit.com. Back to you.
Long list of places affected. All right, Sean, we appreciate it.
People in Macomb County are being reminded to still take precautions against mosquito bites because West Nile virus has just been found there. Health Department says the virus was found in 2 samplings of mosquitoes. First time this summer that it's been detected in Macomb. Last month, the state announced West Nile was found in a blood donation from someone in Oakland County. Health officials say to continue wearing repellent as we head into the fall.